Yes, welcome in. It's Boston has entered the chat, the show where we take your group chat and bring it right to you, live inside the Salem 5 studios. George Balekji, Kasey Hudson. We got a special show for you guys today. Breaking news, Celtics begin the rebuild and the reset to get under the second apron. Jrue Holiday now with the Portland Trail Blazers. Anfernee Simons now with Boston. We have the Red Sox dropping their third in a row. What went wrong with the pitching and the base running? Plus more on the Bruins ahead of their developmental camp. All coming up right here on the show. Case, how are we doing this morning?
Pretty solid, actually.
All right. The heat's not beating you up yet?
No, it's not. It's one of those things where I'm like, oh, you guys can have summertime. And then I'm also like, wow, my body has climatized. It's too hot here. So I'm in the middle of everything.
The Florida gal is saying it's too hot in Boston. Welcome.
I am. It's officially official.
We don't have the same ocean breezes as you guys down in the Sunshine State. And now, hey, the trade deadline and the offseason heating up for the Celtics. So let's get into the news that broke late in the middle of the night, almost around midnight. This goes down. Jrue Holiday, 35-year-old Jrue Holiday, traded to the Portland Trail Blazers. And in return, the Boston Celtics getting 26-year-old guard Anfernee Simons, great shooter, can attack the basket, create off the dribble. Not a good defender by any means. And 2 second-round picks in return. Most importantly for Boston, just a shift for $5 million difference in payroll, but the saving they make in tax penalties, they're saving $41 million. That's how serious the tax penalties are for the Boston Celtics. And we saw the reaction on Twitter. Wow, Celtics always cooking in the offseason. Man. And that makes sense. I mean, Brad Stevens, once again, working a perfect trade. Thank you to Jrue, an immortal Celtic. We knew it had to happen. This seems like good news to wake up to as a Celtics fan. I think that's the rational take in all of this. And then Jason, for 2 second-round picks, yeah, who does Brad Stevens have dirt on to be fleecing these trades? It's more on what Portland gets in return, but this worked out perfect for the Boston Celtics. Yeah. They have to get under the second apron. They still have $18 million more in salary and payroll to go to get under that, but it's saving $41 million in tax penalties. And in return, it's a 26-year-old Anfernee Simons who averages 20 points per game, shoots almost 37% from three, can create off the dribble, can attack the basket, really good offensive piece, bad defensively, but in a reset year when we don't know if Jason Tatum is going to play for the Celtics this upcoming season, Simons is a perfect guy to split a backcourt with Derek White and play off of a Jaylen Brown as well and be hidden defensively by them too.
Yeah, well, I like this move for a number of reasons because there was some conversation around how young will the Celtics go in the absence of Jason Tatum. And on top of that, were they going to be open to needing a guard because of what they're going to potentially do in the draft, which we'll get to momentarily. But you put it perfectly. This is a Celtics team that's been known to be stout defensively, so you don't need a guy that's going to come in and be that strong of a two-way player. What you're trying to make up for right now are points. You are looking at missing out on 20-plus points with JT being out of the matchup. And then we got to see what Jaylen Brown looks like after knee surgery as a leader in that leading role. So I like the idea of getting younger here. I like the consistency on the shooting. And for anyone who hasn't seen it and didn't feel like Googling immediately what's up with this guy, go see how well he worked against the Knicks and other teams in the Eastern Conference to see how he's going to be able to bring value in that Eastern Conference competition. So there's a number of things that parallel here that say we're trending in the right direction without making too many crazy moves. We talked about it on Hold My Banner. Jrue Holiday is probably one of the 3 guys that are going to be easiest to move on from. And also, I think that this all sets us up perfectly to see how things are going to potentially be manipulated in the draft. So I hate missing news when I'm asleep, but I feel good about this one so far. It is a lot to wake up to.
We got to be in here at 6 a.m. That alarm goes off 4:30 for me when it comes to the show, having this in the morning. But you wake up to it. And as much of there is that shock that we felt with past trades for the Boston Celtics, like when Marcus Smart was dealt following them coming up short of making it back to the finals, this one was, oh, okay, this happened already. Yeah. Because with Jrue Holiday, he's about to be 35 years old. He's on the decline offensively, but also defensively. He's not the same guy that could guard 1 through 5, keep up with the quicker guards you see across the NBA. And again, at 35 years old and carrying that payroll, $32 million, and the second apron and the tax penalties staring the Celtics in the face, that was a first piece. And the way to look at this for Boston Celtics fans, you're not going to resolve getting under the second apron, and it's not all going to happen in one move. Like, literally, Simons comes back making $27 million a year. You're, like, scratching your head. Like, that's an astronomical number. They have to chip away at getting under the payroll. They have to chip away at getting under that second apron. Yeah. And, again, the big picture in this, $41 million in tax penalties is what they are recovering from and what they are eliminating in all this. Plus, Jrue Holiday, it's not just what he was making now, but there were 2 more years remaining, $72 million in payroll. Simons is a free agent after this season. Celtics can re-sign him, bring him back if they want. They can extend him mid-season, or they can let him walk and, again, let the financial crisis that they're in right now resolve itself. It's the small moves that are going to happen now. It's a big moves that may happen closer to the upcoming trade deadline, because the names that still go around, Kristaps Porzingis, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, and Derek White is still a possibility to be moved. I mean, he's over 30 years old. There would have to be a Godfather-like offer is what Brad Stevens says, but those are the guys that could be next. Again, this is the small move, and you have to give it to Brad Stevens. For whatever reason, there's an affinity in Portland for Jrue Holiday, because remember, he was dumped by the Bucks, traded to Portland, but then he was brought over to Boston in a subsequent move by the Celtics to make up their core that won last year's NBA Finals. They trade him again and get 2 second-round picks in return.
Right.
Those are assets they can use to move if they want to continue to move players and bring in lower salary payrolls and continue to shed money off the books. But Brad Stevens, with his trade, again, to your point too, no Jason Tatum. He got a great scorer and a great shooter that fits Joe Mazzulla's system, but will give this team a lot, and he's still ascending. He's only 26. He's only getting better. This could be another steal, and Simons could be potentially a very good Boston Celtic for a long time. That's the big win. The small win is they're figuring out how to get the payroll in check and how to get modern with the new NBA. It's no more supermaxes and big threes. It's making it work without the tax penalties.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned like some key things there in a sense of they're making maneuvers without adding too much baggage, because with this kid being a free agent after, it's almost like a prove-it opportunity because they're doing 2 things simultaneously that are very crucial here. They're working within all of that number crunching and trying to make sure they alleviate themselves, and then we're heading into new management territory at the same time. But it's also how many big waves do we make in the absence of Jason Tatum while we figure out Jaylen Brown. So I will say this, I'm pretty sure Celtics fans are excited because for the most part, it feels like this solidifies the whole, could we potentially move on from Jaylen Brown rumors? You don't have to do that. They don't have to do too much here. This is still a pretty good roster considering. So now they're going with a more plug-and-play approach, which shows you the confidence they have in the leaders in this team. And sometimes those are the guys that surprise you the most and can push you in. I mean, how many underdogs did we talk about in this NBA season that ended up making postseason appearances and having those pull-through games or showing that they had a deeper bench? It was names that you don't really know all that well. So 26 years old, a lot of potential, a lot of guys who come out of IMG Academy as well. They tend to have a pretty big future. They build momentum very well depending on their age. So this is a guy that if he has a good prove-it year this year, that you're going to have quality money on him, but you're going to have probably his best time of his career, which lines up perfectly. So we know about the other pieces they'll potentially move on for to alleviate this cap issue. Porzingis being one of them, and the other things that they can get back. You mentioned how they can kind of use those 2 trades or those 2 draft picks, 2029 and 2030, saying those years is awful to me.
It's assets that mean something to some of these teams for some reason, though.
It does.
And if you want to throw a lot of draft picks with the Porzingis, makes that contract easier to eat for a Brooklyn Nets-esque team. And if it gets them off the books and gets something in return, it works out for them.
Exactly. So now they're giving themselves a lot more manipulation room. But what I like about it even more is like they could package all of this for a bigger name in the midst of a bigger name, or more so try to make some movements in jumping in the NBA draft. And I'm kind of interested to see if they're going to use it as a jump, because some of the names that were discussed on Hold My Banner, your friend, John Fanta, I want to call him Fanta so bad. But John, he was excellent in terms of like some guys and small maneuvers that the Celtics can make in the draft to jump up from 28 and players that are going to be so impactful now within that 10 to 14, 15 range. So having these draft picks, still having the opportunity to move on from Porzingis, you're opening up a field of opportunities for a Celtics team that's going to make a notable move here to say we're not dead in the water just because we're probably going to try to keep JT out for the season. It's the most responsible thing to do. Yeah, we'll see what they do with his return. He could be back in 8-9 months. I am on the boat as you. Same thing of keep him out this upcoming season. This trade goes down. Phone lines were ringing. Make sure you can leave us a voicemail, 617-790-0928. We got a good one. Our guy Jack from Linfield called and left a voicemail. Check it out right here.
Hey, this is Jack from Linfield, and I'm just calling after the Jrue Holiday trade. I was wondering, is Derek White next? Is Derek White next? I really like him, and after seeing Jrue go, I don't know. So What's next for the Celtics? Is it going to be Derek White? Thanks.
Jack from Winfield, a little Mickey Mouse there.
Passionate.
And a big Derek White
passionate guy.
Big Derek White fan as well. That's the next name, but we've heard the reports. Brad Stevens does not want to move on from a Derek White. He doesn't want to move on or move a Jaylen Brown because this is still a team that understands you can get under the tax threshold and you can get under the second apron this offseason if you move a Kristaps Porzingis and really make the contract count at that point. Save more than $4 million.
Right.
Save around 10, 15, maybe 20 in the next move. But it's really difficult to maneuver altogether. Derek White will be 32, 33 when Jason Tatum's 100% back. But in the window and with his game, if he ages like he can, this is a team that'd be back to contending. And he does everything. And he's a point guard, which they need right now. Different style of game to an Anfernee Simons. But again, if it's the right package, and teams do want a Derek White on their roster, I could see it happening. Jrue Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, those are the expected moves. Those are anticipated moves. Those are the moves that have to happen. Derek White, that would be a luxury move. And if he's dealt, that's when you trust the Celtics and Brad Stevens that the return they're getting is something that they just could not pass up on.
Yeah, it's got to be a heavy return. I think Jack can relax and breathe. I don't think we're moving on from Derek White because even though we talk about the fact of getting new pieces here in the mix and in the absence of Jason Tatum, I think that to a degree you're going to want to keep certain veterans in place. And yeah, a 30-year-old man is a big-time veteran in the NBA. So you're going to need the right veteran presence around you. And you're talking about a player, too, who stepped up in key moments that the Celtics needed him to. So there's a number of things that make him an asset to this team. And you don't have to move on from him to create space and money because there's other maneuvers here that can take place. So I think Derek White would be safe. But I also think that it's smart that with a lot of movement and a lot of question marks, you have to have certain leaders that remain in that locker room or else you're looking at a completely different season and potential miss of the postseason.